I walked up to the house I once called home with nothing more than a duffel bag and a bad instinct I tried to ignore. My coat wasn't built for the cold that day. It clung to me like regret, thin and useless. The sky had that dull gray tone that usually meant snow was close behind. I saw the lights glowing inside, yellow, warm, soft, and I heard the kind of music my mother always played during holidays, the jazzy kind that made everything feel staged, like a movie she directed but never let me star in. A text from her still sat unread in my phone. Just stop by, but don't make a scene. I didn't expect a scene. I expected a place to stand. I knocked. Light. Once. Then again, slower. My knuckles barely grazed the door the second time. The door creaked open, but not wide, just enough for her face to appear, pressed against the chain lock. My mother's eyes darted past me, scanning the neighborhood like someone waiting on a package they didn't want. "Gideon," she said, breath fogging. "It's not a good time." "It's Thanksgiving," I said. "I know, but the neighbors are out and Iris is already confused enough. Oh, I'm not here to cause problems. I brought something for her. Just 5 minutes inside." She cut me off, tightening her grip on the frame. "Let's not ruin the vibe today, okay?" And just like that, the door closed. No slam, no drama, just the sound of wood and steel sliding together like it had done it 100 times before. I didn't move for a while. Not until the cold hit deep in my ears and made them ring. Eventually, I sat on the curb in front of the house, unwrapped the sandwich I'd packed myself that morning, peanut butter, cheap bread, no jelly, and tried to chew through bread that felt colder than the concrete beneath me. My fingers barely worked. I couldn't unwrap the plastic properly. Cars drove past. Some slowed. No one stopped. Inside, they laughed. I saw them through the sheer curtain, the kind of blurry silhouettes that hurt more because I knew exactly who each one was. Rowena stood at the center in her pink dress. Iris spun in her yellow one. They took a photo. My dad held the camera, probably with that same confused smile he always wore, as if wondering how he got pulled into any of this. I used to be in those pictures. Once. Not anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Don't take this personally. You know how people talk. We can catch up after the holiday." I stared at the message, then called her. She picked up on the second ring. "You're still my son," she said first. "That wasn't the question," I replied. Pause. "Rowena's the one who needs the spotlight right now," she continued. "She just got through surgery. You know how she is. Difficult, but she's family." "So what am I?" I asked. Silence. Then finally, "Of course you're family. Just not today." I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. Back at my car, I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the small black box. The angel necklace inside shimmered faintly. Silver. Simple. A gift for Iris. I thought maybe she'd like it. Maybe she'd remember who it came from. But I didn't ring the doorbell again. I didn't text. I didn't knock. I slid behind the wheel, turned the key, and let the engine cough itself awake. Before I pulled away, I sent one message to Rowena. "Hope your second chance was worth my last place to live." No reply. Not even the bubbles. As I drove off, snow started falling, just a dusting at first, then heavier. I checked the mirror one last time. The house looked full, warm, perfect, and absolutely, completely without me. The snow from 2 days ago had already turned to gray slush along the sidewalks. I hadn't moved my car much, just enough to avoid tickets, and I parked it that evening behind a 24-hour laundromat, mostly for the light and the Wi-Fi. The battery on my phone was down to the last few percent, but I powered it on anyway. Might as well face whatever I was about to see. Messages came in like a flood. Group texts, missed calls I wasn't part of, and then pictures, balloons, matching pink and cream family shirts with Team Rowena printed on them, a cake shaped like a hospital bed, the fondant version of my sister looking glamorous even in icing, all the cousins, the aunts, Even Uncle Reese, who hadn't shown up in years. Everyone was there. Everyone but me. No tag, no invite, no mention. Just smiles that looked permanent, as if I never existed at all. It's funny how you can be alive and still ghost your own bloodline. I kept scrolling. My thumb barely moved, but I couldn't stop. Then I saw the video. Rowena walking into the event space like a local celebrity, people clapping, music swelling behind her. She hugged Mom like they hadn't just thrown me to the curb a few days ago. She even twirled for the camera. The caption read, "When your real ones show up, blood is a suggestion. Loyalty is a choice. Hash chosen family." Underneath it, hearts, clapping emojis, fire symbols, comments calling her a survivor, a queen, a role model. I read it again, then one more time. After that, I locked the screen and just stared at the dashboard for what felt like 30 minutes. Maybe more. My hands were still. My jaw wasn't clenched. I wasn't crying. But something inside me hardened. Quietly. Apparently, selling my home for her wasn't enough to make the list. Later that night, I stopped for gas at a place near the freeway. The cashier gave me a double take. "Hey, weren't you in that fundraiser flyer?" I looked at him, confused, said nothing. He pointed to a corkboard behind him, an old photo of Rowena's hospital campaign. My face was blurred in the background, sitting in a chair near the ICU. "They said it was a family-only event," the guy said, scanning a Red Bull, "but someone told me you were the reason she made it to surgery." I smiled, polite, dry. Funny how stories get rewritten when you're not in the room. I paid in coins and left. Back in the car, I sat with the engine off, heat off, lights off, and I thought, not about what they did, but about what I'd allowed. The years of keeping quiet, of not wanting to stir the pot. Flashbacks hit like old bruises, birthdays where I paid for dinner but got no card, holidays where my name was last on the list, or left off entirely. You learn to believe that being needed is the same as being valued, I whispered to myself. It's not. I started making a mental list, just to see it for what it was. Rent. When Rowena moved out but couldn't afford her studio, car repairs. For Mom, when she didn't want Dad to know she backed into the mailbox. Emergency room co-pays, too. For Iris. And now, the condo. All of it, erased in one hashtag. Back at the laundromat, I connected to the Wi-Fi and pulled out my laptop. The family group chat. Deleted. I didn't announce it. Just gone. I unfollowed Rowena. No dramatic unfriending, no passive-aggressive comments. Then I opened a blank email window. I didn't type much, just the subject line. To whom it may concern about the GoFundMe account. I didn't send it. Not yet, but it sat there, drafted and waiting. It was already dark when I got the call. The name on the screen made me pause. Ryan, a guy I used to work with years ago, back when things felt solid. I hadn't spoken to him since I left the firm. "Hey man, I saw your face on a GoFundMe page. Are you okay?" I blinked. "What?" He sounded sincere. "Someone shared it in a group chat. Looked like you were at the hospital, sitting in the waiting room. Said it was for your sister's recovery. I didn't know you were in that kind of spot." I hung up soon after, gave him a vague answer I don't remember now. But the moment we ended the call, I opened my browser and searched. There it was. Help Rowena Heal. A campaign that had already raised $27,000. My face, blurred but unmistakably mine, sat in the corner of a photo snapped in the ICU. I remembered the moment. I had just gotten off the phone with the billing department. My hands had been shaking then too. The description read, "Her brave brother remains by her side through it all." That sentence hit like ice. I hadn't been at her side since they'd told me not to come, not to ruin the vibe. I scrolled. Every word felt like someone else's version of my life. Fabricated, polished, convenient. The funds were being deposited directly into an account tied to Rowena's company. They didn't just use my image, they used my silence as currency. A couple of hours later, my phone rang again. Rowena. I stared at her name for a while before picking up. Oh, hey, I saw you viewed the page. I was going to loop you in. Why is my face on it? I asked. My voice didn't raise. I didn't need it to. It just worked, she said. You look like someone people would want to help. And honestly, it went viral faster than we expected. I didn't say anything. She filled the silence with more justification. You always said you didn't want the spotlight. This way, it helped without dragging you into it. You used me without asking. Her tone shifted, sharper now but still clean around the edges. Come on, don't be dramatic. We were trying to survive. Isn't that what family does? Use every tool they've got? I hung up. I don't know how long I sat in that silence, but it followed me when I drove to my parents' house. Not to be let in, I'd learned my lesson, but I needed to ask one question. Mom met me at the door, not outside, not inside, just at the threshold. Did you know about the fundraiser? She paused a beat too long. Your sister's been through so much. That's not what I asked. Her arms crossed over her chest. Let her have this moment. So, using my photo without permission is okay now? Honestly, sweetie, she said, eyes flitting around the porch light like moths were more interesting than her son. It's just awkward. People talk. And having you in your current situation, it just doesn't reflect well on the family. That word again. Homeless. As if it defined me. As if it voided everything that came before it. I walked back to my car. That word stuck to my coat like a sticker I couldn't peel off. At a red light, I started counting in my head. What I'd lost. Condo. Gone. Savings. Gone. Place in the family. Non-existent. Voice. Apparently up for lease. I thought about the morning I wired the payment to the hospital. I'd told myself it was what any good brother would do. Family first, I'd whispered as I clicked confirm. I didn't just sell my home. I sold the last thread of dignity I had left. And they spun it into their narrative like I never existed. Back at the laundromat, I parked, plugged in my laptop, and opened a new folder. Screenshots of the fundraiser, my face, the caption, the donations, the company account tied to it, the call transcript from Rowena, receipts. Date stamped. I named the folder. Evidence, for when the lie folds. No one else saw it but me. But that night I stared at it like it was a map. Not out of revenge, but because it was the only thing I had that was real. They used my silence like a checkbook. It was time to balance the ledger. I hadn't touched my email in days. Avoiding it felt easier than seeing another reminder of how far down the list I'd fallen. But that morning I connected to the laundromat Wi-Fi again and refreshed out of habit, and there it was, a message flagged in red from my bank. Subject: business account linked to prior mortgage release. At first I thought it was spam, clicked it expecting some phishing link, but the details, the reference number matched my old mortgage, the one from the condo I'd sold to cover Rowena's surgery. I read the statement 3 times. The equity I released, the small financial cushion I thought I was giving to save my sister's life, was now listed as collateral for a business line of credit under a corporate account owned by my sister's LLC. I followed the document trail, landed on a PDF. The scanned version of my signature was right there. Same slanted R, same shaky tail on the last letter. Dated 3 weeks ago. I remembered signing something, but I didn't remember this. They didn't just use my photo. They used my future. It didn't take long to remember when it happened. Back at the hospital, Rowena had slid a folder across the table in the ICU waiting room. She looked tired, real tears, I think, that time. Said it was paperwork to expedite the billing so we wouldn't get caught in some insurance mess. I was distracted. I'd been up for almost 36 hours. The monitors were beeping. Iris had fallen asleep in the chair next to me. I didn't ask questions. I trusted her. I signed. Sometimes trust isn't stolen. It's handed over, hoping the person on the other end has a conscience. Late that afternoon, I drove back to my parents' house. not out of hope anymore, but to see how much further they'd let things slide before they noticed I was gone. The porch looked the same. So did the decorations. A banner from the recovery party still hung above the steps, slightly lopsided in the wind. My mother opened the door again, halfway, like always. Her eyes darted to the street, then back to me. "We're hosting a dinner party tomorrow," she said. "Too many people in the house." I didn't react. I didn't expect much anymore. "You could stay at a hotel, right? You're working online. You'll bounce back." I nodded, even smiled a little, but inside, something finally clicked. They didn't shut the door on me. They made sure it was never open long enough to welcome me back. Next morning, I went straight to the bank, asked for the branch manager, explained what I'd seen. I didn't raise my voice, didn't accuse anyone of anything. I just asked for copies of the documents tied to my mortgage release. The woman behind the desk hesitated, but after verifying my ID and seeing the trail, she printed everything. I flipped through page after page, and there it was, buried in the disclosures in a line most people would miss unless they were looking for it. Borrower acknowledges gift contribution by affiliated party. I was the affiliated party. That one sentence erased every right I had to reclaim anything. I had signed it. Willingly. No fraud. Just a finely packaged betrayal. It wasn't illegal. It was worse. It was engineered trust abuse. Outside, the wind had picked up. I stood on the curb with the folder in my hand, fingers numbed from more than just the cold. I wasn't shaking anymore. I pulled out my phone and scrolled down to a number I'd saved months ago, a contact from a free legal clinic I'd once volunteered for when times were better. Hit call. It rang twice. "Hey," I said when someone picked up. "I just need someone to tell me how much of this was legal, and how much was just cruel." I hadn't planned to check my voicemail. That night, I was just scrolling through old photos, wondering if any of it ever meant what I thought it did. Then the notification popped up. One new message from an unknown number. I pressed play. "Hi, Uncle Gid." It was Iris. Her voice was low, like she was whispering from a closet. "Mommy said I shouldn't call you, but I miss you. I still have the picture of us at the park. The one with the ducks. They said you're mad, but I told them you're just sad." The message ended in silence. No crying, no dramatic goodbye, just a child's quiet truth. I listened to it again. Then once more. She was the only one who hadn't rewritten the story. A few evenings later, I was walking through downtown. I needed air, noise, something other than my own thoughts. That's when I passed the wine bar near the Arts District. Big glass windows, warm lighting, the kind of place that made people feel important just for walking in. Rowena's company logo was plastered on a standing sign near the door. Q4 Appreciation Night. I slowed down, just long enough to glance through the glass. That's when I saw it. A woman, laughing with a glass of red in her hand, wearing the angel necklace I'd given Iris. It caught the light just right. Same chain, same curve in the wing. I would have recognized it anywhere. She said something to the woman next to her, pointed at the necklace. "Oh, Rowena gave it to me," she laughed. "Said it was from some family thing she didn't care to keep." I didn't knock, didn't wave, just stood there and watched the way my memory got passed off like a freebie in a gift bag. They didn't just give away a necklace. They repurposed a memory. It was getting colder. My fingers were stiff in my jacket pockets, but I couldn't bring myself to move until the lights blurred and the noise faded into background static. Eventually, I ended up at the library. It was one of the few places left that didn't ask questions. I plugged my phone into the wall near the copier station and sat across from an outlet that blinked blue every few seconds. I watched it blink and thought about every dollar I'd handed over in silence. The school fees, the rent deposits, the last-minute Venmo transfers for unexpected stuff. None of it documented. No thank you cards, just a quiet expectation that I would give and they would take. My value was never in what I gave, I muttered to myself. but in how easily I gave it away. I pulled out my laptop, opened a new message, addressed it to Rowena. It was short, clean. You can keep the money. Just stop using my name. I hovered over the send button. My finger trembled. Maybe it was the cold. Maybe it was something else. Part of me wanted to believe silence was still noble, that if I stayed out of it, eventually things would settle. Then my phone buzzed again. Another text from a blocked number. Mom's mad I called you. I'm sorry. I still have our picture. That word hit me harder than I expected. Our. Iris still remembered me as part of something. Not a villain, not an outcast, just hers. I deleted the email draft, closed the browser, opened a folder instead. This one had a new name. They won't rewrite me again. The next morning, I walked down to a local computer shop and bought a used external drive, the kind with just enough space to hold the pieces of a life no one else cared to remember. I spent the afternoon uploading every screenshot, every email, every time-stamped call log, labeled them, backed them up. Then I pulled up a picture of the necklace, the one I took right after I gave it to Iris last year. If they can recycle my love into leverage, I whispered, I can recycle their lies into truth. I renamed the drive. Proof, not permission. The message came mid-afternoon while I was sitting in my car, half watching rain crawl down the windshield. It was from a name I hadn't seen since college, Tyler. Back then, we worked side by side in campus media. He had a good sense for stories, but an even better sense for silence. His message was short. Hey, saw your name in a thread. Didn't know you were in that situation. Hope you're okay. I didn't answer. Didn't know how to. He followed up with one more line. Your sister's story is circulating. I didn't want to believe it. I read those words 3 times, then locked the screen, set the phone down, stared straight ahead for a while, let the shame pool quietly, right under the skin, the way hot steam hides just beneath a lid before it whistles. It's strange how when you stay quiet long enough, people don't just forget you. They start rewriting your ending, pretending you're already gone. Later that evening, I opened the folder from a few days back, the one I titled, They Won't Rewrite Me Again. The files were all still there, untouched, but humming with potential. Screenshots of Rowena's fundraiser, the blurry ICU photo with my face off to the side, financial records from the bank, email confirmations, text logs, voice memos, metadata timestamps matched against her public posts. I started labeling things, making it real, creating categories, rebuilding the past in a way that no one could twist it this time. It wasn't revenge I was after. It was clarity. Maybe I wasn't building a case to sue. Maybe I was building a mirror, one they couldn't look away from once it reflected who they really were. My hands didn't shake when I opened my email browser. I created a new address, one that couldn't be traced back. Typed, subject, family fundraiser. Fraud. You may want this. Attached the documents, organized, color-coded, dated. I didn't name names, but I left a trail anyone who cared could follow. At the bottom, I wrote, if you're curious, start with a woman who runs a clean beauty brand in Tacoma. Her story sells well, but the truth might sell better. I hesitated, not out of fear, but because, for the first time, I wasn't sure if I needed to send it at all. Then I clicked send. There was no alert, no explosion, no applause, just breath and stillness. I didn't blow the whistle. I whispered it and hoped someone would hear. 3 days passed. I waited, no response. I started to doubt myself. Maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe silence would win again. One morning, I sat at a corner table in a local coffee shop. My laptop open in front of me, the evidence folder still glowing on the screen. I hovered the cursor over it, my finger ready to press delete. That's when I overheard a woman at the next table talking to her friend. She's hosting another sponsor event this weekend. Full red carpet. And must be nice. I didn't need to ask who she meant. Of course, Rowena was moving on, thriving. She always did, even if it meant walking on people who used to carry her. I looked down at the $2 in change I had left. Enough for a small refill, enough for now. Just as I was leaving, my phone buzzed. A news alert. Tacoma Local. Investigative report. Beauty CEO under scrutiny for fundraiser discrepancies. No names, just blurred images and vague headlines. But I knew those photos. I recognized the silhouette sitting beside the hospital vending machine. I remembered that vending machine's hum. I remembered the taste of the coffee I couldn't afford that day. I sat back down, right there on the sidewalk in front of the cafe. Not in despair, not in triumph, just still. I wasn't ready to fight them yet. But maybe I didn't have to fight alone. The phone started buzzing before sunrise. Missed calls, DMs, a dozen text messages, most from numbers I didn't recognize. One from a former coworker that just said, "You might want to read this." I opened the link and there it was. Headline: Tacoma CEO under fire for misleading fundraiser. The article came from a local outlet, nothing national yet, but the kind of source people in town trusted. It didn't name names, but the details weren't subtle. A well-known beauty brand founder is facing scrutiny after anonymous documentation revealed inconsistencies in a popular online medical fundraiser. And the photo. Blurred, but I knew it. The curve of my shoulder. The shape of the old jacket I wore that day at the hospital. Someone had used a candid image taken from the hallway, the kind you don't pose for because no one thinks you're worth capturing. I didn't say a word, but the truth had found a mouth of its own. I scrolled through the rest. It referenced gaps in how the fundraiser was promoted versus how the funds were dispersed. Donor intent possibly violated. Anonymous screenshots were included, timestamps aligned with personal social media posts. My hands didn't shake. Not this time. By noon, Rowena had posted a statement on her business page. It was textbook damage control. We are saddened by the malicious rumors and misinformation circulating online. Our family has endured so much. We ask for privacy as we focus on healing. And then came Mom. She shared the post with a caption of her own. Let's choose kindness over cruelty. Let's focus on healing, not hate. A few of their loyal followers chimed in, the usual hearts and prayers, but it didn't last. Soon, screenshots of Rowena's past posts flooded back into the comments. People who had donated, shared, celebrated, now asking what really happened. Old clients, former employees, friends from high school. The words betrayed and manipulated showed up more than once. This wasn't a witch hunt, it was a wake-up call. That evening, I refreshed the article's page again. Page not found, gone, no announcement, no correction, just gone. I checked other local news. Nothing. Tried contacting the journalist. No reply. People online started speculating. They must have paid the outlet. Maybe the reporter got threatened. This smells like someone buried it with cash. For a moment, the truth was out there. And then, it was buried again. But the thing about stories is, once they're told, you can't undo the hearing of them. Reddit threads exploded. Titles like Rowena Gate and The Healing Scam popped up. Side-by-side comparisons of the fundraiser photos, Instagram captions, and my hospital picture cropped out of frame. Someone dug up the GoFundMe campaign. Comments from months ago now pinned and dissected. I donated because of that photo. Where did the money go? Another. She thanked everyone, except her brother. And another. How do you erase the man who paid the bill? I watched it all unfold, silent. I didn't comment, didn't like, didn't defend. But for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel alone. Silence can be bought. Memory cannot. That night, as the wind scraped across the cabin roof, I heard a knock. It wasn't Mom. It wasn't Rowena. It was a young woman, mid-20s maybe, holding a camera and a notebook. I'm with the ledger, she said, smiling like she already knew what came next. You're the one they left out, right? I didn't answer. I think your story's not done yet, she added. Mind if I record? A message showed up in my inbox late at night, forwarded from someone I didn't know through an address I hadn't given out. It was a post from a small nonprofit based just outside of town. They'd just met their end-of-year fundraising goal, and the post thanked an anonymous donor who helped make it possible. The photo they used, blurred, quiet, was the same hospital hallway where I'd waited during Rowena's surgery. They didn't tag anyone, no names, no backstory. But I knew that hallway. I remembered the shape of that bench, the hum of that vending machine. I remembered how cold the coffee was that night, and how heavy my phone felt in my hand after Mom told me not to come inside. Reading the post didn't bring pride. It didn't even bring comfort, just a calm, strange ache I couldn't name. Like finally hearing a song you wrote in a language you didn't speak anymore. Recognition isn't always about being seen. Sometimes it's about being remembered, right? I took a screenshot. And not to share, just to have it, proof that something good had lived inside me, even if no one wanted to say it out loud. The next morning, I checked the nonprofit's page again. A comment was climbing up in likes. If this was for her surgery, why isn't the brother listed on the donation records? Someone else replied, Wait, wasn't he the one who paid the hospital up front? I remember that photo. And then it started. Receipts, screenshots, threads popping up faster than I could read them, old fundraiser links, captions from Rowena's Instagram, photos where I'd been cropped out, blurred, or simply erased. People weren't asking questions anymore. They were connecting the dots. Rowena's team went silent for a full day. Then they issued a one-sentence statement. Many people helped behind the scenes. That wasn't enough. Comments exploded. Users started tagging brands that worked with her, calling out her partnerships, digging up more photos, more captions. Then a screenshot leaked, an email Rowena had sent to an event planner asking them to scrub any family references outside of the nuclear family. The mask cracked, and this time no one was rushing to patch it. Ophelia tried calling, twice. I watched the screen light up with her name and let it fade both times. No voicemail, no message. They used silence like a weapon. And now, silence was all they had left. If it had been a year earlier, I might have cracked, called back, tried to mediate. But I wasn't that version of me anymore. If silence was my prison, now it was their mirror. That same afternoon, a small brown envelope showed up at the cabin. No return address. Just my name, written in childlike letters. Inside was the angel necklace, polished, clean. Still on the same chain I bought with my last freelance check. Taped to it was a folded piece of notebook paper. They said to forget you. I can't. This belongs with you. Iris. I sat on the edge of the bed holding that note for what felt like forever. No tears, no anger, just a breath. One I didn't know I'd been holding since the day they shut the door in my face. It wasn't forgiveness. It was something stronger. It was recognition. And maybe that was enough. That night, I sat with my laptop open again. The folder marked, Proof, Not Permission, still sat on the desktop, unopened since the last upload. Beside it, the necklace rested on the windowsill, catching the soft amber light of the cabin's single lamp. My email inbox blinked. One new message, Sabine Crow. Subject line, Ready to tell your side? I didn't open it right away. I didn't need to rush. But I hovered over the reply button, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel erased. The noise had faded, not all at once, but gradually, like fog burning off under a slow sun. The article, the threads, the whispers that filled every corner of my phone, all slipping under the surface while newer stories took their place. Brands began quietly distancing from Rowena's company. Scheduled events postponed indefinitely. Influencers she used to tag stopped replying. She didn't vanish. She just got quieter. Ophelia sent me one final message. You could have handled this differently. I didn't answer, not out of resentment, but because there was nothing left to say. Some silences are surrender, others are a boundary. Sometimes silence is not surrender, it's survival. Later that week, I walked back to the shelter. Same place I'd sat outside last month with frozen fingers and a gas station sandwich in my coat pocket. This time, I stepped through the front door. I handed the director an envelope, cashier's check, clean and final. No signature, just a scribble for accounting. I said, "This is from someone who remembers what it feels like to be erased." They asked if I'd pose for a photo. I declined, politely. "Would you like us to tag you in the thank you post?" They offered. "No need," I said. "Let it just be what it is." I walked out before they could ask again. Didn't stay for applause, didn't turn around. I gave, not because they took. I gave because I could. The next day, I got a ping on my burner email. Sabine had posted the interview, anonymous. She didn't name me, didn't trace the drive back to the cabin. The caption read, "Sometimes heroes don't need headlines, they need space to heal." The comment section filled up quick. People recognized the story, connected the dots. Some speculated, some already knew. No one outed me. No one needed to. I read the full article once, then closed the browser, deleted the email thread, logged out. I didn't need to win. I just needed to stop losing myself. That afternoon, I brewed coffee the way I used to, strong, black, 2 pinches of sugar, just enough to take the edge off. I sat near the window of the cabin, sunlight spilling over the windowsill where the necklace rested. I pulled out a thick envelope, addressed it by hand. No return address. Inside, the original receipt from the hospital. A photo of me and Iris at the park, covered in duck feathers and mud. And a line I'd written days ago. "You're the only one who never looked away." I signed it, Uncle Gideon. It wasn't for closure. It was for her. For whatever part of her still wondered if I was real. Snow began to fall just as the last bit of light left the trees. I lit the fireplace, sat in the chair with a paperback I hadn't touched in years. Pages yellowed, corners curled from being moved too many times without ever being opened. I didn't plan to finish it. Just hold it. Let it remind me that some things are worth keeping, even when they've gone unread for a while. Then the phone buzzed, one voicemail. I didn't recognize the number. I hit play. "I told them I was proud of you. I still am." Iris. I pressed save, then mute. Not to forget, but to carry it forward.